Hey everybody, welcome back to Chit Chat. My name is Guy Magno. I have the joy of serving as the host of this podcast. Thank you so much for listening. I just got done recording this episode with my friend Desi Murphy. Desi is a remarkable potter and artist here in St. Cloud. I've known Desi for quite a while now. I have Desi's plates and her pottery in my home. She makes absolutely wonderful and lovely things. And it was a really, really fun, sweet conversation today. And somehow, I'm just going to tell you, we got to country music, which is new, and I didn't expect it. And so thanks for listening. We really appreciate having you guys here. And again, our commitment is that we're going to release one of these every week for a whole year, just engaging with people in our community that are just trying to make their little slice of our community better. And that's what I got to do today with my friend Desi. Thanks for listening. Desi, thank you so much for joining us on Chit Chat Podcast. It's great to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, Desi, today, often we're drinking coffee here, but today we're drinking some delicious tea. You are an avid tea drinker, but more importantly, we're drinking tea today out of your beautiful little cups.
We are.
Thank you for bringing these.
You are welcome.
Little toast here, little cheers to beautiful cups. Okay, so Desi, maybe would you just tell us, for our audience, for our listeners that don't know you, don't know who you are, tell us who you are, what you do, including these beautiful, lovely little white cups we're drinking from today.
So I am Desi Murphy, and I am a professional artist here in St. Cloud. I own and operate Desi Murphy Pottery, which is a commercial pottery studio on the north side of town. So it's in the Hester Park neighborhood, just right off of Veterans.
Kind of close to the hospital.
Yeah, right in between Cathedral High School and the hospital. And it's this just beautiful, quaint, historic building that I purchased a few years ago. And the front part of it is a gallery space. And so I do have sales every once in a while, about 6 times a year out of that space, but it's primarily for creating art in the studio space, which is in the back of the building. And so that's where I create everything. I am a potter, and I also make ceramic art that's hung on the wall. Those are called ceramic wall installations. And I also am painting now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
I don't know
great.
if you have seen some of my new paintings.
I photographed a whole bunch of them.
Yeah, yes, you did.
Yeah. For our listeners, if you have been in St. Cloud for a long time, Desi's studio is the old Curry Photo Studio, right? Isn't that what it was? Yeah.
Yes.
So in case you know where that is, that's where Desi is now.
And the dark room.
Yeah. Yep.
Still exists.
Yeah.
It's still black.
Yeah.
Downstairs.
Well, if you decide that you want to start taking some film photography, you've got that available to you.
It's a little bit of history that is just still present.
It's fun.
Downstairs.
Okay, so how many years have you been in your new space?
I think it's been 3 years now.
Okay,
Yep.
Cool. I know what I love about your work. I love how clean it is. I love your attention to detail. I love how you don't you say a lot by, I think, how you edit yourself and how you, I think what you don't put onto the page, so to speak, is one of my absolute favorite things about being about your art. But what kind of drives you as an artist? What do you love about creating?
I don't know, honestly.
Yeah. If someone asked me that, I would say the same thing.
So all I know is that when I'm not doing it, I feel like a big piece of me is missing. And so what drives me is just that just kind of need to do it, need to create. And I've been that way my entire life, ever since I was a young child.
And has it always been clay, ceramic, or was that was that later? When you first were looking as a young kid for a creative outlet, what was the medium?
Play-Doh.
Yeah? Actually?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
So Play-Doh, but also paints and fabrics and bracelets, of course, and all of that kind of stuff. So I mean, I was constantly creating. I was making pillows. I was sewing. I was, all sorts of different things. But my favorite toy by far was Play-Doh.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, how fun that a potter has that in your story. That's really, really fun. Do you still you have kiddos? Is Play-Doh a toy in your home?
Absolutely.
You've made sure to
Yes.
keep that around.
Yes.
And of your kiddos, do you see an aptitude for art and creativity in some of your kiddos?
I do.
And Play-Doh? Yeah.
I do. Yeah.
That's really fun. How do you go about kind of like fostering that thing that you do professionally and that you care so much about? How do you go about fostering that?
They have to create something every day.
Oh yeah.
And so they can choose what they want to do. If they want to paint, if they want to just draw, if they're not feeling it, they'll just, grab a coloring book, something like that. But we have those materials, those resources available to them so they can grab them right away and make something.
Really, really fun. And what about like having your kiddos in your studio? Do you have any of your kiddos tried the wheel?
They have, yeah. It's not frequent that they're in my studio because it is my workspace.
Yeah.
And kids, they tend to, make a mess of
You
things.
can touch this. No, not that. Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, no, I totally get that.
So they are there. They have been there, and then they've thrown on the wheel as well.
Yeah,
so
fun.
they're just kind of now. My oldest is getting to the point where she can actually get on the wheel and learn some things. Previously, it was just kind of putting their hands on the clay.
Do you need strength? Do you need hand strength to be a potter, or is it a skill thing?
Yes and no. You do build that hand strength and arm strength, but there's ways to do it. When I teach beginners how to throw on the wheel, I have ways to do it where you really don't need a whole lot of strength, where you center a little bit of clay, and then you center a little bit more, and then a little more. There's just ways to kind of hold your arms that make it easier to do without needing to be strong.
Cool. Do you have a degree in art, a degree in clay, or was this something that was a passion that you just turned into a career?
I have a bachelor's degree in art from the College of St. Ben's, and I was planning on going to get my graduate degree in art as well. So I don't know if you know this story.
I don't
No.
I don't know if I do.
Okay, so when I was going to school at the College of St. Benedict, one semester shy of graduation, I panicked.
Okay.
And I was like, what am I going to do with this? And my thought was, I really want to go to graduate art school, but I just thought, what am I going to do? Like, what am I actually going to do with it? And so I just kind of panicked, and I thought, okay, after this semester, after I graduate and I finish my credits, I'm going to go into nursing. I'm going to go get a practical degree in nursing. And it wasn't too far off base because I had been working as a nursing assistant for 9 years at that time. So I worked as a nursing assistant in high school and in college at the St. Cloud Hospital. And so nursing wasn't too far off base, right? So I thought, okay, I can do that. I'm gonna apply to a nursing program. I moved down to Tucson, Arizona, after graduating from St. Ben's, and went to the University of Arizona. And I received my BSN, my Bachelor's of Science in Nursing from U of A. Worked as a nurse in many different places. So I worked in Tucson and Madison, Wisconsin, and Duluth, and in a variety of different areas as well. So I worked in the cardiovascular ICU, and the PACU, and in surgery mainly. And I had put in over a decade in nursing. had finally moved back, the pull to move back to your hometown, right? Had gotten married, started having kids, working at the St. Cloud Hospital as an RN. And I thought, there's something more for me. So I enrolled in a graduate nursing program and was on track to become a nurse practitioner. A couple years into that, I vividly remember, so this is painting the picture, right? I'm an RN, I've got some kids. I've put a couple of years into graduate school nursing, right? This isn't a light decision to make. And I remember standing in our kitchen talking to my husband and saying, hey, what if I shift from this program to art and I throw pots? Without hesitation. He's like, yes, absolutely do that.
That's really sweet.
So the very next day, I withdrew from my nursing program.
And where was your program at?
Winona State University.
Okay, sweet. All right.
Yeah.
And what year? And so was that 3 years ago? Did you move right away into your building, or
that was 8 years ago.
Okay.
So it's been a very long process becoming. So that was 8 years ago when I decided to become a professional artist, and it just took a lot of time. There were a lot of baby steps, learning like who I was as an artist, finding my aesthetic, and that has shifted considerably throughout the decades of creating. Yeah. And then just kind of being known in the local art community.
As your aesthetic has shifted over the years, has that ever provided any sort of like existential crisis of like, man, I have created in this kind of way in a long time, and I don't know if I want to create like that? Have any of those shifts in your kind of creative voice, has that caused you to like second guess your creative process or anything like that?
Not my creative process, but my identity.
Sure.
Which is interesting. So not with clay either, but just, we had talked about how I started painting again. So this is a 20-year hiatus of painting. I painted a lot in college. In fact, my graduate exhibition was, my senior exhibition that you have was actually painting and not clay. So I was very much, I learned a lot about painting in college. I did a lot of it, but I hung it up and I focused on clay for years. And then just recently I thought, oh my goodness, I have all of these ideas. I want to paint. I want to get into this, but I can't. I can't because the name of my sign says Desi Murphy Pottery. The name of my business is Desi Murphy Pottery. I am a potter. I can't paint. And then I just thought, you know what? Life is too short. Yeah. Life is way too short to be stuck. To be stuck. To be stuck because of that. And so I thought, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna start painting, and that was the little bit of a crisis that I had. Sure. But once I started, I couldn't stop. I think I've made 60 paintings in the last few months.
That's cool. When you went from painting to pottery, do you remember why? What was the motivation for making a pivot then?
I think space, honestly. I mean, you need a lot of space to paint.
I would have guessed you needed more space to be a potter.
They have the space in community art centers. They have the space. You can pay a monthly fee and go there and throw and have a couple of shelves to dry your pieces on. But for painting, if you think about it, you really do need some space, and you need that space to be your space. If you think about the size of a canvas and setting it up and having it dry, you can't just set it on a shelf. Sure. And so I think that was the challenge. And then once I had the space, I had the studio, I just started thinking.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sweet. And then have you learned anything fun about yourself as you've kind of like re-engaged with the paintbrush?
That's a good question. With pottery specifically, now not the ceramic wall art, but with pottery, you tend to be more production. There's sculpture, which isn't. There's wall art, which isn't. But when you're talking mugs and cups and plates and things of that nature, you're making the same thing over and over and over again. And so that conceptual period is very small. There is much more of that mental, conceptual period with fine art, with painting. And I've noticed that I love it. I love to be in that zone where I'm thinking about what I'm going to make before I make it, and it's not just a thing that I've made, hundreds of times before.
Yeah, I suppose with painting, the relationship between form and function is much more clear. With pottery, like you're doing something beautiful and you're doing something creative, but it has a kind of utility that a painting doesn't have, a tactile nature of using it every single day. Does pottery ever feel like a second-hand art?
Right.
That it has such a functional use, and that so many people that aren't artists, they engage with it in a kind of way that, oh, that's really neat. I do need some bowls at my house.
Yeah.
Whereas that's not how the art community engages with art.
Yeah, it's completely different.
So what's that process like at being an artist, caring so desperately about the aesthetic of something, and obviously that artist thing that's in you that you're trying to get out, but then you're engaging every day in the kind of transactional, functional world in relationship to pottery. What is that like?
So they are completely different worlds, it's interesting because I'm straddling both worlds right now. There's a big difference between functional art and non-functional art. So functional would be pottery, tableware, drinkware, things like that, things that you're going to use. And non-functional is a painting, something that you're going to put on a wall and just look at. And the value in the non-functional is much higher to people.
You mean
monetary value than with the functional. And it makes sense. It's something that you're going to be using and touching every day versus something that's going to be on your wall for decades and you're going to be looking at. But as far as the process, again, just being in that conceptual space more is really what I think it's all about, at least for me in the making of it, the process of it. You conceptualize for a long time, you sketch, or at least I do, I sketch the pieces, I actually draw right straight on the canvas as well before I start painting so that I know where my lines are. And so then there's the process of, okay, is this really what I want? And then I go ahead and I paint. And then after I'm done, I sit and I look at it again and I conceptualize, is
this what I want to say?
Is the red where it's supposed to be? Is the white where it's supposed to be? Look, what does the composition look like? And what does it mean to me? And so, yeah, it's just more in your head, in that conceptual area, I guess. And then as far as the functional goes, it's almost like muscle memory. You get to a point, especially with making the same thing over and over and over again, almost like any other thing, like piano or like typing on a keyboard. You just do it without thinking. There's not a lot of thought process.
Especially if it's a song that you have memorized. And,
right.
You can just sit down and plunk away.
It's like your body knows how to do it, and your brain doesn't really need to engage. And so I think that's the biggest difference for me and the process.
And so is a piece of going back to the painting is to engage more with that, that process, that kind of artist and creative process. Yeah, sweet. If people wanted to, obviously, you have your store, but where else could people find your work if they wanted to see your work? Are there other stores around town that carries your pottery? Yeah,
so my website is desimurphy.com. So it's just DESIMURPHY. .com. And then I'm also on Etsy, Desi Murphy Pottery, and on Instagram, which is at Desi Murphy Pottery, and then Facebook as well, which is the same handle. And as far as locally, you can find my stuff at I'm at the Paramount, at the gallery there at the Paramount. I'm at the Minnesota Street Market in St. Joe. I'm at Great River Arts in Little Falls. I'm down at Red Wing Arts. Ripple River, which is kind of up in Brainerd in the Aiken area. Yeah.
Sweet.
That's what off the top of my head. There might be more.
So there are a couple places. Head down to the Paramount. You can go see your stuff there, or in St. Joe at the market. Fun.
Yeah, and you can always contact me as well. Like
Yeah.
you can contact me through my website for a private showing.
And you can come over to my house and have dinner and eat off of all of my lovely dishware. Desi, as you see young artists who are maybe potters or otherwise, but as they're kind of trying to get going, what kind of mistakes do you see young artists or young potters make as they're trying to get going?
Right. Well, I think a big part of it is it's just learning. It's you make a lot of mistakes as you start. And I think the younger you are, the better. When you're younger, you don't think about those mistakes. You make them. It's just part of the process of learning. You've never done it before. But as adults, when we learn something new, we think we're adults, we should know this. And you don't go back to, hold on, I've never done this before. I'm not going to know what to do. I'm probably going to make a few mistakes or a lot of mistakes, and I have to just learn from that. And so a lot of the students that come into my studio, because I do teach pottery classes as well, are adult, and they have a difficult time with at least that portion of it. I should know what I'm doing right now, and you don't. If you think about, if I were to play piano, I would stumble a lot. But if somebody else were that has practiced hours and hours, they would be able to do it fairly well. And I think we forget about that. As far as young potters, there are really easy ways to learn how to center, and I know to center clay on the wheel. And I know how to teach them. There are a lot of teachers out there that teach pottery that don't really teach that specific part of it very well. And there's this myth that centering is difficult and it takes a long time to learn. But if you just explain it in a very scientific way, it eliminates a lot of the problems.
I've always really liked pottery. When I was in high school, I did I think it was on Tuesday nights, maybe. Teen night.
Yes.
At the Paramount.
Yeah. I did too.
Yeah.
We were probably there on the same days.
That we absolutely could have. And I really loved it. I think there's something that's so fun about taking like mud, that's something from the dirt.
Yeah.
And if you exert your will and your creativity on it, you can actually make something like really beautiful and elegant. And I don't know, I think that's so fun. I like wood turning in the same kind of thing. That was a tree. That was just a gnarly old tree, right. And now it's an elegant little bowl or something. I kind of love that. But when you see so many potters, you and I have had this little conversation before, but so many potters, maybe because it's clay or something, there's a kind of an organicness that is kept, which sometimes actually just looks like sloppiness. And I've heard you kind of talk about that thing, and we just unpack that a little bit for us. Why do you, in a medium that so many people kind of choose to cut some corners in relationship to the level of finish and sloppiness, why is it so important for you to finish at such a high level?
So you're talking about a couple of different things here, and I'll kind of answer both points, but I just intrinsically do not like chaos and clutter. And I don't know if it's because I'm Scandinavian or if it's just who I am, but I'm very clean-natured. And even a little bit of clutter, especially visual clutter, will just be a little jarring for me. So just personally, I like the clean, refined look. And that's a big part of why I make modern minimalist pieces. Not just the pottery, but the painting and then the ceramic wall art. So there is a Japanese school of thought that, so it's called wabi-sabi, and it basically means perfectly imperfect. And the Japanese do it so well. And they learn how to be perfect. And there's a bit of a handmade element in what they do, which makes it imperfect because it's handmade. It's alluring because of that handmade nature, because of that imperfection.
The humanness of it.
Yes, the humanness of it. And I love that. I love that philosophy. But here in the United States, we've taken it in a different direction. And what you'll see here is people don't finish their pottery. A lot of potters won't trim or turn their pots, which means to just trim off all of the excess and make it nice on the bottom. They'll take it right off the wheel, let it dry, and then toss it in the kiln.
With like rough edges.
With rough edges. Absolutely. And again, like this is, for me, I'm all about the experience of it too. And so like just that smooth on the lips, smooth on the hands, make sure that it's something that's not sharp, that it just feels really good. I mean, if I'm drinking my morning cup of coffee and I just want to be relaxed and I want to be calm and I want to be balanced, a rough edge on my coffee cup, just personally, is just kind of, it just kind of, it doesn't give me a good feeling, I guess.
I think sometimes when I've experienced wabi-sabi and maybe in pottery or in anything, it feels like, almost like an excuse to maybe not hone your craft in a kind of way, because it's really hard to finish well, and it feels a little bit like
it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time, energy, and effort to trim to the level that I trim, and I could see that. I don't know what the reasoning is for some people. You would have to ask them. But for me, it's just all about that feel. That, and then giving that feeling to somebody else too. So like giving that just like calm, balanced, harmonious feeling to another person.
Desi, you have recently added painting into your creative offerings. As you're looking at the next 5 or 10 years, I mean, I guess if you look backwards, you've changed, you've evolved, you've added things, you've subtracted things from your life. I think it'd be crazy to say that you're done now, right? And like this, like the creative output that you have now is what you'll always have. What do you think the next 5 or 10 years, what might you add? What could be coming inside of Desi Murphy pottery or Desi Murphy art?
I don't quite know yet. I've got a lot of ideas, and they're all in that growth trajectory. So it's all new and different things. Specifically with painting, I want to potentially add a little bit more texture, more line. Okay, so I don't like rules. I don't know if you know this about me, but I love rules that make sense, but I don't like rules that don't make sense. I'm a little bit of a rebel in that way, which is kind of funny because you know me, and so you're probably thinking rebel and Desi. No, this does not make sense at all.
Yeah.
But visually with art, I love to push the boundaries with things. So things like, why canvas? Why is it rectangle? Can we make a different shape? Can we put shapes together? Can we add different materials besides paint? Can we, I mean, who said that we have to just paint on a canvas? And so I like to push those boundaries, those arbitrary rules that a lot of people will just follow. And I like to think, okay, hold on. We don't have to follow them, And so that's kind of the direction that I'm heading, is just doing just new different things that a lot of it I've never seen before. And we'll see what happens. But I have 4 children, and 2 of them are very young. And so I'm just going to have more time. I'm going to have more time to create.
You're saying like as your kids are getting older.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I get it.
Right.
For sure.
I mean, right now, I don't have a lot of time in the studio. And so when I get that additional time, and when they become more independent, my creativity is going to flourish even more.
I suppose with limited time too, you have to make some like conscious decisions about how you spend that time. Like, do I take time concepting right now?
Yep.
Which takes time, and there's no monetary benefit necessarily that comes from that.
Right.
Certainly not today.
Right.
Whereas like if I sit down at the wheel right now and I bust out those 20 plates and those 20 bowls, like there's actually like a business component of that is more actualized.
Right.
And so I'm sure you have to do
A
some of that.
balance, right? It is. It's a balance. I am really wise with the time that I have, being that I don't have a lot,
Sure.
and so I will prepare. I'll prepare the clay ahead of time. I'll prepare the canvases ahead of time. I'll get it all ready to go, and then I will do this thing right now. Now that I'm painting as well, paint takes time to dry. And so I will put, a coat of gesso on, and then that will dry. And as that's drying, I'll zip up. I paint downstairs, and so I'll go up the stairs and I'll throw some things on the wheel, go back downstairs and paint.
That's
and
great.
so I'm very much like aware that there's like this time element that I can be like taking out of the equation. Waiting for things to dry, whether it's clay, whether it's paint. I use all of that time that I can.
What's the best music to throw? Like you're sitting there, you're by yourself, you got your speakers going, and what do you push and play?
No, I think it depends on the person.
But I'm asking you.
Absolutely. Okay, so my favorite is no music at all.
Really?
Zero stimulus.
So
zero.
No podcast.
How
no
minimalist
audiobook.
is that?
It is very minimalist.
But I do listen to podcasts. Every once in a while, I'll listen to audiobooks. And I usually tend to drift towards listening to things when I'm tired. And I'm trying to shut that, like, when you're tired and you're like, okay, I got to keep going.
Yep.
I have to do this. I have to keep going. And to shut that little voice off that says, okay, you can stop. I just put something in it. Okay, we're going to keep going
Sure.
now. But the music that I like to listen to, have you ever heard Calexico?
No.
Yeah. My Morning Jacket, Calexico, Iron and Wine. Any of these ring a bell?
Iron and Wine. I listened to Iron and Wine when I was in college.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's basically my, like, I guess it would have been when you were in college, when I was in my mid-20s.
Are we not the same age?
No, I don't think so. I think you're younger.
Should we find out?
42.
Okay. Today actually is my 39th birthday.
Today. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Oh, wonderful.
So we would have even overlapped though. Like hypothetically, if we went to college at the same time, we would have overlapped.
That's true.
Yeah. So
that is true.
You were making it seem like you listened to like such different music than I did.
But no, what do you listen to?
When I'm creating, or if I'm driving, or I guess
I know both. I don't know.
Well, I think most people think this, but like I think I have a fairly eclectic music taste.
Okay.
I like classical music. I was a music major in college, and so I love classical music.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And I love hip hop. I love folk music, and more like modern folk, pop folk.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, some top 40, just some like, it's called pop music for a reason, because it's really, really consumable, and that little earworm is great, and that beat is fun. I love good jazz music.
Good jazz music.
I like good jazz music. Yeah.
Right.
So, and I'll just say it, okay? I'll just say it. For my whole life, I have hated country music. And I didn't understand it, and something has happened to me. Yeah. It's a, depending who you ask, it's a problem, but.
What song? What artist?
Yeah.
How did you make a transition?
This isn't going to get better. I still feel a little weird about it, but.
Is it simply curiosity?
No.
Okay.
No.
Do one of your kids like it?
No.
Oh, okay.
Morgan Wallen did it, okay? Morgan Wallen, who, even for people that are like big country, like deep country music people,
Yeah.
Morgan Wallen is terrible. He is like the epitome of what's wrong with country music because it's like pop country. And I just love it. I don't know why. But I love it.
So I don't listen to country.
Yeah.
And so I don't even know who that is.
So here's the deal. I was a music major in college. I didn't know.
Okay, so what instrument? What did you do?
I was a voice major.
You were voice.
Yep.
Do you still sing today?
Yeah, really loud at church.
Okay.
Yeah. Other than that, no. In the car, in the shower.
Do you do solos? Are you in the choir? Like what is singing?
Now?
What is singing at church?
Oh,
is it
just
is
like-
it in the pew? Is it?
Yeah. Just while at church.
Yep.
I like
Yeah.
I enjoy singing, and so it's an opportunity to sing.
Yeah.
I think if I didn't have a job, truthfully,
Mm-hmm.
I think if I didn't have a job where every day from when my alarm goes off to when I make it home, where I wasn't like having just like massive creative output, I think I would get home and I would say to myself, I need to get out and sing. I need to do something. And it would be music because I love it. But I get home creatively very, very exhausted in like the best kind of way.
Right.
And so because of all the photo, video, design stuff, I don't need it in the same kind of way.
Right.
That might sound crazy. It might sound stupid, which it could be. I don't, but just, I don't have a need for it in the same kind of way that I may be used to.
So what do you use
Mm-hmm.
on a daily basis from your music degree? What is some information, some knowledge?
I listen critically.
Yeah.
Even to pop music. Like everything. Like I want it to be of whatever it is. I want it to be of a very high quality.
Yeah.
And so the artists that I gravitate towards, in whatever genre, I often will gravitate towards the more musically minded of those artists, the ones that are really, really, really talented.
Except for country pop.
I mean,
With exception.
maybe until you hear some of Morgan Wallen's songwriting.
Yeah. I will keep an open mind.
Yeah. And then there's a song, Lucy, my daughter, who's 9. Her and I, it's one of her favorite songs. This is like what happened. This is like what has happened deep inside of my little soul. Mm-hmm. We listen to a song and we sing a song called "Things I Take for Granted" by Larry Fleet. Okay, it is, I think, the most quintessential, perfect country song that I have maybe ever heard. And the lyrics in the song, he talks about how he wishes his paycheck was bigger. He wishes that the cold beer was cheaper. He sure would like a new truck, but he can't get rid of this beater. Mm-hmm. He loves his job. And he's just like going through all of these things in his life and just how like thankful he is for everything. Mm-hmm. And basically like, how could you complain when you have so much? At one point he says like, he gets home from work and he's tired and all he wants to do is kick his feet up. And he's too tired to chuck the pigskin. He's too tired to tuck the kids in, but I'm going to do it tonight. I don't know. There's just something about it that just like, it's so anchoring. I don't know.
Yeah.
And so that, whatever that thing that country music does better than any other genre,
Right.
I am resonating with that in a kind of way that I never have before.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. But I hated, forever, I hated country music.
Yeah.
Like a visceral reaction. Mm-hmm. And I'm changing.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
So, and it's not all. I mean, like, there's still so much country that I can't do. But every once in a while, one of these songs hits, and I'm like, I resonate with that for the first time in my entire life.
Right.
So,
Right.
Yeah. But I listen to lots of different things.
I may give it a try. I may.
It's a loose recommendation.
Yeah.
It's okay. When I was in college, all these music majors, I didn't know all of these students, all these friends of mine, they were all pursuing music at a really high level.
Right.
None of them listened to country music. None. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them listen to hip hop. I don't know what that means, but like we often think of like hip hop as this. It's easy to, because sometimes it doesn't sound melodic, or it doesn't sound musical. But there is something there's a draw there that lots of country music doesn't have for people that are continuing to study music at a high level.
Have you ever studied song composition?
Yeah.
And the difference between
Yeah.
like a hip hop or a country song? And is there a difference, or do they have like how are they structured? I mean, there's obviously difference with instruments, with beats, with things like that, but like the actual structure of it.
I had composition classes, music comp, but they were all classical music related. We weren't studying any composition of pop music and stuff. So I would just have speculation on that. I know the things that I'm drawn to in good hip hop, why I think it is a really, really incredible art form. And but yeah, it'd be speculation at this point.
Yeah.
Bands like Iron and Wine, the singer-songwriter doing a guitar like that has monopolized a lot of my kind of musical love over the years. So. Well, sweet. What a fun little turn. I wasn't expecting to talk about country music during your podcast today. Desi, I'm thankful. I'm thankful for you. I'm thankful for your friendship. And it is fun to know people who are pursuing not just creativity, right? Like, I think that's special, but you're pursuing creativity and business. And so often when we get together, thank you I feel like I'm always asking you questions. I love to hear how creative artists who are running businesses kind of approach that relationship. And just over the years it's been so fun to talk to you. I've loved hearing you kind of process and think about how you're doing that. And I think that's so fun. I mean, that's what I'm trying to do every day. And so I've loved our conversations, and I think what you do is so special.
Thank you.
Literally every single time I'm at home, and if there's new people over and we're eating off of your beautiful dishes, I don't have to talk about. We get to. I mean, like, whether I bring it up or not, people are asking about my dishes that I have, and I'm so happy to tell them all about you and your lovely work. So thanks for coming in and chatting with us on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
As we close today, do you have an unpaid ad that you would like to share?
You know I love food.
I do.
I love to cook, and I love to bake, I love to eat, and I love really good food. So my plug is a dual plug.
Okay.
It's for the co-ops in the area.
All right.
It's for Good Earth Food Co-op, which is in St. Cloud, and then the Minnesota Street Market, which is in St. Joe. If you have not gone to either one, go. They have the best local food, the vibe when you just walk in the smell of a co-op. You know, do you go to the co-op often?
I'm not often, but I mean, I grew up going to the co-op. My mom is a big co-op supporter, and she loves the co-op here in St. Cloud.
Yeah.
The soup, her very favorite bowl of soup in town.
Delicious, delicious.
Yeah. So I've eaten many a bowl of soup at the co-op with my mom.
It's just that beautiful smell of like homemade
and spices.
Homemade spicy food, right? Yeah. So it's like the curried soups.
Yeah.
I don't know if they do the hot food there anymore, but the it's just that type of food. So you have that smell. You have coffee that's been ground, and then you have like essential oils.
Patchouli.
And I mean, it's this blast of vibe that I just absolutely love, and the quality of the products there is just unbeatable. Both co-ops.
And you might be able to find some lovely pottery there as well.
Yeah, you definitely would be able to.
Well, wonderful. And I think in honor of our conversation about country music, my unpaid ad for the day is Larry Fleet. I've listened to only one of his songs, Things I Take for Granted. I think you should go listen to it. All right. Well, Desi, thank you so much for coming on. It was a treat to have you today.
Thank you for having me, and happy birthday.
Thank you so much.